perspective and context is required here. He said about Eden Hazard, he is one of the best players in the world. He said he's a great player. But to then say about the current Belgian captain, he's captained them 35 times, he is not a leader. Do you not find that a strange comment to make? Yes,
when you're talking about arguably the best player, someone that the club would desperately love to keep hold of, and obviously his contract is running down. Maybe there's already an agreement, maybe there's already an understanding that he'll move on, who knows? Maybe it's the manager's frustration. I think there is definitely clear frustration in terms of the way that Chelsea have been playing of late, and the fact that Sarri believes that the players are not returning what he believes they should be. And he's had numerous meetings with the players, and he felt that he had, addressed the situation, but he also believes clearly he hasn't. So maybe it's another tact, maybe it's another direction that he wants to try and, bring the players out in the open, put players under more pressure. Provoke. But we've seen in the past, at Chelsea in particular, and a lot of clubs, the more you start to provoke players publicly, generally there's only ever one winner, and it's not the manager.
For me, it'll be interesting now to see how Hazard responds to this in the coming matches, i.e. tomorrow night. Will he be fired up? Will he go and put a performance? You talk about leaders. We've all played with players. They're different kind of leaders. For me, Hazard, yes, he's not a shouter, a ball in the people that's going to organise and have a go at people. He's someone, give me the ball and I'll lead by example. I'll go and take the ball deep, I'll run at people, I'll get in good position, I'll score goals. So for me, he's kind of alluding to that, isn't he? Because he'll have a couple of good games and then maybe he'll go quiet for a couple of games where when you play for Chelsea, you've got to play top quality every week. So it'd be interesting to see how he responds tomorrow. Will we have a fired-up Hazard, or will we have a Hazard that might sulk a little bit?
It's open for interpretation, isn't it?
Yeah.
In terms of what is Maurizio Sarri's interpretation of what a leader is. No, he's not a John Terry. But then who is a John Terry? There's only one John Terry. So Eden Hazard is a different character, different personality. Like you were saying, Kev, he's a player that he won't scream and shout. He's someone that tries to lead by example at times. Give me the ball, let me create, let me do something, let me score goals.
Is it hard if it is a playing style as opposed to an observation of his vocal or vocality, is it harder for Hazard to be a leader right now when he's playing as a false nine?
No, I don't think so. I don't think it really matters what position you play on the pitch, whether you're a leader or not. Some players naturally have that inbuilt, that they feel that they can be vocal, they can lead. What we think from a traditional sense of being a leader is. And I think, the game has evolved in so many ways, as Kev will probably back me up in the sense that as players, we've seen the game evolve so much in our generation. These guys are now taking it on to a different level. And I think knowing Eden as well, I can imagine he's probably just sitting there, shrugging his shoulders, going, "Well, that's his opinion."
I would perhaps disagree a little bit with what Mark's saying in terms of playing as a false nine or as a striker, being a leader, because he's been so used to be able to go so deep and get the ball and run with it. When you're as that false nine or as that striker, you kind of almost, I better stay up the pitch and wait for the ball at times to come to me. Now, you can go 10 minutes without touching the ball if a team's in possession. So maybe he's alluding to that a little bit, whereas Hazard, for me, I don't know the guy, you probably know him better than me, that he wants to go and get the ball on the pitch. That's the way that he wants to lead. Now, because he's been told to stay up the pitch maybe a bit more, he can't be seen as a leader as much as he has done in a position where he can float a little bit.
But it's also Chelsea. It's not we're talking about a lot of the clubs that we played for is a time where you maybe go on 10 minutes without touching the ball. Chelsea have the ball more than that, so he is still involved in the game a lot. Yes, maybe there is an element of, yes, he'll have less possession than someone who has more of a freedom to go and do what he wants, but I still believe that Eden Hazard still has the freedom to almost go wherever he wants on the pitch.
Well, maybe he will be granted that freedom once again with the news today that Gonzalo Higuain has now joined Chelsea on loan until the end of the season. Again, when they have Olivier Giroud there, it's got a few Chelsea fans scratching their heads.
Well, you look at Olivier Giroud, particularly at the beginning of the season, off the back of the World Cup, which he did a tremendous job for France, and they used him really well. And link-up play was exceptional. And they did it early on in the season. So I think it's not an Olivier Giroud problem. It's a general problem in terms of the way that Chelsea have dropped off. They're not playing as well as they played early on in the season. So Giroud has been less effective in that regard. But then so have a lot of other players. So to pinpoint one player, I think, is unfair. Will Higuain bring something different to the club? Probably. I mean, he is a different player. He is someone who's more renowned to scoring goals. But let's not forget that also, you know, since Giroud's goal-scoring record at Arsenal was still very, very good. It's only been the last sort of 18 months or so that his goals have sort of dried up a bit. But I think it also has to do with a little bit the way he's changed, the way he's played a bit.
Well, you could also say that Higuain's goals have dried up over
well, they have,
season.
yeah. But I think when you look back at his record at Napoli under Sarri, you know, it was exceptional. So, you know, from his point of view, I'm pretty sure he's sitting there thinking, I need to bring someone in. You know, if there's a chance that I can get Higuain, I worked with him at Napoli. I know what he can bring to the team. It was interesting what he told him at Napoli before he scored the goals, that you're overweight, you're lazy. He addressed that situation. Now, whether he'll get time to do that, you don't know what kind of shape he's coming into the club at. You're hoping he'll hit the ground running. But he knows the player inside out. He knows what will make him tick. He'll know what sort of system to play to get the best out of him. So it'll be interesting now to watch Chelsea.
It's a different game. It's a different league.
Yeah.
The pace of the game is so much different here in the Premier League. So if he does come in not being at the levels he needs to be,
he's going to struggle.
And it's going to take a while. You know, it's not going to be something that's going to happen overnight. So he needs to hit the ground running. He needs to be top fit to be able to fit in the side and play the way he played at Napoli.
Yeah.
He hasn't got that time.